This situation is a king-size problem. An Omni King-size problem. Now I bet that pun royally hurt, didn't it? Hey guys, MasakoX here. Now that the dub of Dragonball Super has come to an end in the States, I'm sure that a lot of you who have held back from these discussions have now come back to the channel to see what we all thought about the whole affair. On the whole, the universe survival arc was a very necessary arc to have had, and it did do a lot of things right. It gave characters time to shine, mostly, had some truly iconic cinematography, mostly. I mean, Goku grinding on a key blast to name but one of those iconic moments, yeah, you gotta give that its dues. And as well as that, it innovated a lot when it came to making nearly 80 distinct characters with interesting powers and designs. That is a very, very big feat. And yeah, most of them did fall to the hands of Universe 7 exclusively. Very convenient, yes. So you can see, yeah, it was a mixed bag, but it was mostly good. A solid 6 or 7 out of 10. Now that I've gotten myself back on this topic, it's been some time since we talked about one of the most annoying aspects of this arc. The tournament power was a very ambitious idea, and it did turn out okay. However, it did bring up a rather troubling situation with a character/tool which started off so intimidating, but quickly spiraled into being a rather irritating occurrence which offered nothing in terms of substance throughout the universe survival arc. I am talking about, of course, the Omni Kings. Yes, what started off so well back in the Universe 6 arc at the end of that in terms of subversion and uncertainty in a very predictable series otherwise, fell flat fast. I think by the series' end, or where we are right now, as of October 2019, we were all quite tired of their annoying bickering, and even when it was announced that it was their idea to test the mortals about the selfless or selfishness of their ultimate wish to Super Shenron, we didn't really believe that much. Really? Their idea? I don't think so. They are merely puppets for the real star of the show. We just ran out of time to truly explore that narrative point. Had we got more episodes, it might have been a bit more nuanced. It is indeed a more likely idea that this whole premise for the tournament originated from the mind of the Grand Priest himself. This was his idea, to test the waters of the morality of mortals in the here and now. This was his playground, and the universal teams were his toys, his playthings. As for the other divine beings there, simple. The angels and Zenos were simply just there for the show. Window dressing, you could say. The fact that the manga and anime versions differ so wildly doesn't help the clarity of this arc in this regard. Since there are so many differences between the anime and manga adaptations of this story, it's really hard to pinpoint what was part of Toriyama's original vision of Notes and what was Toyotaro's idea. You know, trying to shoehorn in all of the ideas or rush through a problem he had made for himself. Ultra Instinct Master Roshi, perhaps? We were doubly surprised that in the manga the whole reasoning behind the erasure of the universes in case of the selfish wish being enacted wasn't even addressed in said adaptation and version, which seems to be a direction that the anime staff had taken for their version. It was a pretty drastic take, but it certainly got your mind whirring, thinking, whoa, okay, that could have gone south pretty badly. You were relieved that 17 decided to forget about his idea and wish for a boat. That was a close one. The manga? Nah, Toyotaro was in a hurry to get this arc out of his hair. Not exactly professional, that is it. Now, truth be told, a lot of Zeno's later behaviour can be attributed to the anime staff's take on events. But let's start from the beginning of both Haverock and I's concerns, now that we've had a good while to stew on these kings. When we first meet the present Zeno, only one of them, the original one, he is a pretty mysterious character. This is the guy who is in charge of the whole caboodle. Not just Universe 7, but all universes. It's a sudden and big moment in Super's progression and the history of the lore. Of course, his childlike physique is meant to be a Toriyama-like subversion. We've seen it before, it's a classic trope, which initially proves to be quite masterful. The ultimate divine leader of all reality is in the hands of a childlike being. It ticks all the boxes of Toriyama 101. a solid start. In his establishing scenes with Goku, Beerus, and Champa, he establishes himself as a being that generates a lot of fear around himself, and he is very aware of that fact. When we heard that childish voice for the first time, you knew that this is a being who is much smarter than everyone else in the room. He is in charge, despite his stature, and this disconnect unnerves all around him. Zeno is indeed very well aware of how the GODs react around him, with great fear and reverence, and he seems to be mildly amused by this. That in of itself is a rather macabre state of affairs. Nice to see some sort of tension in the sacred world of the Kais. It's not all fun and games now, is it? He also seems to be amused by Goku, as the simplicity of our Saiyan feels refreshing to him. It's a common trope that a lot of these kinds of rulers in different types of series and shows who feel imprisoned within their rule dream about having a normal connection with another being, rather than everyone just trying to sway them and falling to their knees going, "We're not worthy!" That's why Zeno is looking for a friend. This was a new concept to him at this point. Goku's innocent nature came at the right time, and that's why Zeno let him shake his hand and flop him around like a ragdoll. He wanted something different, and he got it, and he loved it. And that's the vibe you got from Zeno when you first saw him in Dragon Ball Super. He was pretty inconspicuous at first, but you could feel that you have a Yoda-like situation brewing here. It makes sense given that Toriyama is a fan of things like Star Wars. Big things come in small packages. Now, as much as we do complain about the Goku Black Saga's ending, myself included, future Zeno in that story is pretty terrifying. By this point, we'd gotten used to Zeno having a desire to be friends with Goku, and maybe changing under the stimulation of Goku. Something we've seen before with many characters who had spent time with the Saiyan. With future Zeno though, we thought we'd get the same thing, but we never got a chance for that to happen. As soon as he is plopped onto Trunks' Earth with Goku's handy-dandy reset button, the king acts, and he acts rashly. He erases everything with a blank, emotionless stare, viewing this universe as infected by Zamasu as one undeserving to exist, as it was tainted beyond redemption. This was the type of Zeno that once erased 6 universes on a whim. We got to see that in action, and despite its unpopularity with fans, especially Trunks fans, it at least imparted onto us the scary side of Zeno. It did do its job there. It's a powerful image. It's just a shame that the consequences of that action weren't really acknowledged by the show after that, at all. Especially since we heard that Zeno has allegedly already reduced the number of the universes in Trunks' timeline before then. Now, a dialogue between the two Zenos and the Grand Priest later on seemed to indicate that this has indeed happened in our universe and reality too, at some point, and could have happened again in other realms and other timelines because there are plenty of time rings to be had. It's a constant possibility. Now, the anime wants us to believe that this was due to some sort of tantrum, impulsive act, but it's really hard to imagine Zeno doing something like that, or at least something that the original interpretation of Zeno would do. If anything, the more terrifying thought that crossed our minds would be seeing him do that in the present timeline right here and now, like his future counterpart. If we saw it, we'd be scared, emotionless, and left floating in the middle of nothing after he is done. If we saw our version of Zeno do that, that would have cemented Zeno's place as an entity to be feared. However, when you put two Zenos together, you can tell that the original formula that they had in mind breaks down. The desire for a friend overrides their duties as the king of everything. The intimidating aura from before is gone. After the two Zenos meet, they act childlike in both versions, with only one key moment shining through about their former sentiments. The way they play or plan the future of the universe and convey their boredom is downright chilling, playing pool with planets. I've said this before and I'll say it again. The sequence in which they toy with planets is one of the most amazing visuals that Super has ever done. Right at the start of a brand new arc, start off with a bang, literally. Now, after getting through the Tournament of Power section of the manga, and yeah, trust us, that wasn't a pleasant experience for this chapter and researching this video, we discovered that the manga version of the Zenos, they are enthusiastic, yes, and still call out Potara as being cool, but they're nowhere near as irritating as they are in the anime. In fact, they barely do anything in the manga. They have a very small number of lines relative to the anime, chiming in only from time to time, mostly during the erasure of universes when, they're meant to be doing stuff. They are simply relegated to just creepily watching, the tournament unfold before them, only being wheeled out to erase universes when they are supposed to. This is a very stark contrast to what we saw in the TV version. This actually raises up an important question, and something that we all should consider now we've had some time to think about the series as a whole. Is it possible that the current anime version of the Omni Kings is not what Toriyama originally intended for, but an attempt by Toei to make these characters into a mascot-like entity to sell toys? Is it possible that Toei is pushing for the Omni Kings to represent their viewers, or at least their intended audience, the kids, but then failing at another attempt to make those characters relatable to smaller children? We did do a discussion on this topic ages ago, which you really should give a watch because that point was in our minds back then. Now, it's even more apparent. In Toei's mind, such a version of the character, the almighty child god, may feel empowering to the younger audience in the same way as the seemingly non-aging characters such as Trunks, Goten, and even Ash Ketchum from Pokemon do. They're kids, right? They're down with their fellow kids, right? These beings supposedly will never lose their relevance to the current younger generation, right? Well, I'm afraid that we've got to be very blunt here. This is a very, very misguided way of thinking and is blatantly underestimating your younger audiences, who will very quickly recognize that something is off here. It is in fact rather patronizing and rather condescending. Toei just simply doesn't get it. Kids are pretty good at stuff like this, and from what I've gathered, they are also getting annoyed at Zeno, like we are, and we're fully grown adults who really shouldn't be watching, but dang it, nostalgia's powerful. And I really think it's doubtful that Toriyama had put this all in place, this behavior, him doing it, because Toriyama's not the kind of guy that would have given his audience any credit in his decisions. He has done the opposite historically, going against what his audience wants, so why would he listen to them now? This is actually pretty sad, due to the important position that he takes within the lore of Zeno. There is nothing outright wrong in him as a concept, just in the way that he's naturally portrayed. Where have we seen that before? TT! The idea that on the top of this very weird but very strict and organized ladder of divine beings, there is this chaotic child god feels very appealing. But at the end of the day, the production invokes a very confused message when you introduce Zeno as this powerful and wise being, and then have it behave like an unaware child during the tournament. What happened in such a short space of time? Now, as much as the manga version of the Tournament of Power feels inferior to the anime version as a complete package, there is not such a drastic difference between both characterizations. It's more consistent. It's one of the few things that is consistent in that art between the two versions. The Zenos are, like the anime versions, having fun, yes, but the manga versions never feel clueless, just content that they are in the middle of the action. They are getting what they wanted, and they're lapping it up. That's why the next time that we see them, we should see more of those Zenos, the manga Zenos, that we recognize from the first appearance in the Universe 6 arc. Not only should the future appearances be done more sparingly, don't wheel them out so often, they should have a point being there, other than just repeating exposition. Now, yes, okay, you can never run away from spouting exposition in shonen anime, but let it at least not offend the intelligence of the viewer, children included. Because there are still many mysteries that are connected to the Omni King that we want to explore and see more of. What is he exactly? Is he the original Omni King? Is he another one? Is the Grand Priest the true ruler of the universe? Can he create stuff instead of destroying stuff only? What is his work exactly? What's his weird obsession with the number 13? Some of these questions will never be answered, as Zeno should always have at least a little bit of mystery tied around him. But there are also many potential plot points that can be made from all of his shenanigans. But wait, Masako, what was that about the number 13? Well, you're gonna have to wait till a future video to hear more about that when we will elaborate on that topic. But when all is said and done, it's good that Zeno has been put to rest in the Broly movie in the manga, that we didn't see him, as we really felt that he overstayed his welcome. However, the next time that we do see him, because it's quite clear that Toei wants him to come back, we hope to have both of them involved in a new and interesting way, and not serving just simply as squealing little mascots. Hopefully with more time, the writing of them can be improved. I prefer to be creeped out by Zeno, rather than just simply being annoyed at them. So what do you guys think? Which version of Zeno do you like? Will we see him back in the show at all? Leave a comment below and let's get this discussion going, and I shall see you in the next video. Catch you later!